Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Famvestor podcast. I am your host, Sunny Burns.
And I'm your co-host, Sunmarie Burns.
So today we have an incredible story. It's one I'm really excited about. I met this guy maybe just 3 weeks ago, and, I went up to him and I was like, hey, Lou, what do you do? And, it's a standard question, what do they do for work? What is their profession? Or maybe even maybe they're retired, but what is their side hustle? And Lou's like, I don't really do anything. I'm like, so you retired? He's like, yep, retired last year. And I'm like, okay, and maybe you're a podcaster or a blogger? Because this was at FinCon. He's like, nope, don't have a blog, don't have a podcast, don't have a social media following. And I'm like, oh, okay, kind of scratching my head. What do you do? And he's just like, yeah, I'm just hanging out with my 2-year-old daughter. I have 2 other kids, and just living life with my wife, who also just retired, and I'm 38 years old. And it was just this kind of like, I don't know, it just took me aback, because like even in the financial independence space where I like to play, you often hear these guys who retire early, but they, are working in real estate, flipping houses, or take on essentially another job. Yeah. But, what I love about Lou's story, what we both love, was that, he really is retired. Like he's not doing anything else. He's not focusing on building anything else. He's just focusing truly on investing in the present moment he's at with his 2-year-old and his other 2 kids, and investing full-hearted with his wife, just living this life that they dreamed about, thought about, and brought to fruition through their action. And so it's a really cool story. Lou, he worked for 14 years as a computer engineer. His wife worked 14 years as a CPA. And last year they were able to retire. And it was kind of very quick for them. Like, they never thought about retiring. They just, automatically maxed out their retirement account since they started working. And they accrued $1 million. But, like a year ago, they had this realization after listening to a podcast about financial independence and understanding what retiring early could mean, and that they actually had the possibility of doing it. And so they had this epiphany, and then 4 months after hearing this podcast, learning about financial independence, they actually did it. They quit their jobs, they quit their full-time careers, and moved from an expensive New York City area to North Carolina, where they're now living off a $40,000 a year income, and that's just from their investments.
Passive investments.
Yeah, their passive investments. So it's really cool. And they have 3 kids, and they retired at 38 years old. So just an incredible story, packed. Just their whole journey is just really cool to listen to.
It is. It's a wonderful story about tapping into what truly does matter in your life and where your priorities need to be, and not being afraid to make the leap. Don't live a life full of excuses why you can't be living the life that you actually want to be living. So it's very motivational and inspiring. I think you'll enjoy this.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, we reached a big milestone in the podcast. We are at 100 ratings. So thank you, everyone who's left us a rating and review. We really do appreciate it. It does help tremendously to have these. So if you haven't yet, please hop on to iTunes or your podcast app and just quickly leave us a 5-star review if you could. So just giving a shout out to our 100th reviewer. It's Joshua Lux. He says, professional and informative while still feeling motivated. I feel motivated and refreshed after every episode to go out and do something productive. They talk about interesting topics and in a very professional but still fun way. So thank you, Joshua, for leaving us that rating and review. And thank you to all our listeners who are here listening to the show and supporting the show and making this happen. So thanks again, and enjoy the show.
You're listening to the Famvestor podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
So let's all welcome to the show Lou Chen. Thanks for being here.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to delve into your story, because it really sounds like you are living the fulfilled dream, which we're all aspiring towards.
Yeah, I feel like so often, I hear about these people who've achieved financial independence, but they're always like doing something else on the side, or there's something else going, whether they're running a podcast or a blog. And when I met you, I found your story just so intriguing because you are truly retired at such a young age, and your wife too. And you guys have 3 kids, and I just thought this story was so amazing, so intriguing that I really wanted to dig into like, you're retired and you don't really have these side businesses going or anything. So I just wanted to dig into your story and really find out more about what you guys do and how life is going for you.
Yeah. Before we actually retired, I actually had a list of things that I wanted to do, right? So, I've read blogs and I've heard people's stories. They all talk about, retiring into something instead of from, right? So I was, having a list of things that I wanted to do. But it took me quite a bit of time to actually fully embrace this retirement lifestyle. And, after I quit, we moved to North Carolina, and I was feeling, I gotta do something. But then, as I started to enjoy the retirement, just hanging out with the kids, and I never got to do any of the things that I wanted to do before I quit my jobs. So now it's like a year in, and we love it. We like getting up in the morning, don't have a plan at all, and then just talk about what we're gonna do for the day. We're gonna take our little kids, to the park, or the bike, to walk. We enjoyed it a lot. The little one's only 2 years old, so this couple of years before she goes to kindergarten. So we still have 2-3 years with her full time at home. Who knows, after she goes to kindergarten, maybe we'll do something. Maybe we'll find some side hustle. Maybe we'll do something. But right now, we are really enjoying not working, not blogging, not projects, nothing.
That's awesome. So you're 100% zoned into your family life right now.
Stay-at-home family, completely.
That's right. Stay home dad, stay home mom,
and that's like
stay home parents.
The ultimate dream.
Yeah, and how I'm just curious, like a lot of people when they hear that, maybe they're like, oh, he won the lottery, or he's born to a super rich family. Like, how did you do it? What's kind of the key points of how you got there? What's your story? Yeah.
Sure. As I was preparing for this call, and I look into my numbers, I look in my journey, I believe it all started in 2009 when the economy was in, quote unquote, in the toilet. So I was reading a lot of books about what to do, how to navigate the situation. And I ran into this book, Automatic Millionaire by David Bach.
I've read it,
yeah. So it was mind opening and mindset shifting. And it was very simple, but not a lot of people were doing it. It's just simply pay yourself first and then automatically. So I read the book. I thought it was good. So I started maxing out my 401ks and all that. At that time, I didn't think much about it. But by the time maybe 2017, the stock market has tripled since, right? It's not like I'm timing the market. I just happened to be lucky that I was putting a lot of money in. So by the time in 2017, we, with our savings accounts and our 401ks and IRAs, we have like about $1 million by the time.
Wow.
And then at that time, we found out bigger pockets. And then that opened the door to real estate in general. And I was reading, and as a matter of fact, Sunny's story on Bigger Pocket was one of the first episodes that I listened to.
Oh, wow!
Yeah. It was really funny. So it was the newbie story. I remember that you bought a 4-plex in New Jersey.
Yep.
So anyway, so it opened the door for real estate investment. So I was reading a lot. I think like most people, I thought real estate investment just being a landlord, right? But then after I dig into it, there are so many ways to be investing in real estate. You have retail, you have land, you have office space, you have multifamily, you have notes, you have property. So there are so many things that we could do. So as I was reading more, and I realized with our 3 little kids and our busy lifestyle, we're both working full time in New York City, long commutes, long hours. It just wasn't. We just didn't have enough bandwidth to do like landlord, rental, and all that. So we found multifamily syndication deals to be very passive. And so we start pulling money out of the stock market, start piling them into real estate, and then like 2.5 years after that, we were able to have quite a bit of money on the 401k and our taxable accounts, and we thought, well, we can live off that money. So that's when we decided to quit both jobs.
Wow.
So I don't think we've really talked about multifamily syndication on this show. Can you explain what that is and why it's so passive for you? Like a lot of people think real estate investing, they think, oh, they got to buy a building, renovate it, flip it, and make it like do a lot of hands-on work to
and
it.
answer all the service calls themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
so how is
yes.
how is syndication different in terms of how you went about it?
Sure. Syndication is just meaning that you and other investors partner with an operator, or we call a syndicator, who was basically the general partner, who will be finding the deals, acquiring the deals, managing the deals afterwards, and putting tenants in, evicting people if they need to, renovation and all that. So for me as a limited partner, we are just equity partner. We simply contributed our money, and we don't make decision day to day. We don't get involved how the building is doing. We simply provided the money, and the syndicator or the operator does all the work. The return may be a little less than you are doing it yourself, but my goal was to have passive income. I just didn't have the bandwidth or the network or the knowledge at that time to go full-blown owning a multifamily apartment complex myself. Mm-hmm. So being a syndication, you simply just, what I call it, chipping in some money with other investors to buy an apartment complex that you cannot otherwise afford to.
Interesting.
That's awesome. So you said you kind of had grown with your wife $1 million portfolio in like stocks and 401ks before kind of moving some of that portfolio into real estate. Did the real estate like blow that up? Did it make it a lot better? Were your returns a lot better there? Or was it just more easily accessible, those returns, than like traditional retirement account?
It did perform better. It also avoided some of the down cycle, I believe, in 2018, because we started pulling money out into real estate. One of the benefits of investing in real estate, you guys know that too, which is you have a lot more control, right? You own your own rental properties. You have control how it operates, what you do with it. Right. It's the same thing with multifamily, that the operator, the syndicator, has control how to renovate, who to put in, how much rent they charge, what kind of renovation they're going to do. So in that way, it's a lot more control. The return, it's a lot better in terms of being stable, right? So a lot of deals that I invest in so far, they all projected to be somewhere between 15 to 18% IRR. So it's like annual rate of return, basically. If everything goes as projected, as most of the deals do now, it will be outperforming the stock markets by a lot.
Wow, that's sweet.
Yeah, that's a much more solid investment. How did you go about finding who to partner with in your syndications? Because I feel like it's kind of scary or risky to think about laying all this money on the table in someone else's hands who is going to go out and then hopefully renovate and get the business running well. How did you sift through syndicators to find someone you actually trusted? I'm curious to know about that.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. It was my biggest concern too, because like exactly like you said, you are basically handing someone else your money, and hopefully that they will do right with your money.
Right.
The number one thing I would say is that if anyone is interested in doing this, you need to understand the business behind it, like how they make money and what they do with it. And the secondly is like you said, you got to find the right person to invest with. So I listened to Bigger Pockets. I listened to almost every episode up until like 250 or something. So the guests who came on promoting themselves as syndicators or multifamily sponsors, I picked out the ones that I like, from their conversations, their knowledge, how they approach their deals. And then I call them up and I establish a connections, relationships. And then I ask for references for their current investors. So people who have invested with them. So I call them, I had conversation with the investors and how their experiences. I look at their track records. So I usually ask for the deals that they have acquired, exited, what their numbers projected to be, how actually performed. And some of the people, I actually flew out to meet them. So I've been to Philly, I've been to Oregon, I've been to different part of the country just to, look them in the eyes and see how they are. And some of them I actually talk to their staff of their company. So there's a lot of diligence upfront on that syndicator, not a deal particular, because anyone can have a good deal or a bad deal. But as long as they have the right business plan, they have the right structure, they have the right mindset about taking care of investors' money, I think I'll be all right. But it was very scary at the beginning. We were doing very slowly. It was scary. But after a while, you get to know them a little more, and then you feel more comfortable with what they're doing. And then it's baby steps. It takes time.
And I suppose the way it works, once you've vetted a syndicator and you feel that you trust them, it's someone you would do repeat deals with. It's not a one-time thing, right?
That's correct.
Find someone, then you continue to invest with them in multiple projects. So it's worth all of that upfront investigation to really make sure this is someone you want to go with. It's not a one-time deal. It's something you're going to carry forward for a while.
Exactly. You said it right. It's a long-term relationship that we have to put a lot of effort and homework up front. Mm-hmm. And after that, it will be a lot easier. Right. The deals that they send me, I will review and do my own analysis at the beginning, a lot more, and then it becomes a less and less as we get more comfortable with each other.
So I'm kind of curious because, you're 39 years old, but you kind of retired at 38, same time your wife kind of retired. You both retired. Could you have retired, you think, if you just continued to invest in your IRAs, your 401ks, your traditional retirement accounts? Do you think you could have retired, or did starting to diversify and starting investing in the syndication deals allow you that financial freedom to retire? Or you think you could have retired either way?
I think it makes me feel more comfortable to retire once we have most of our money into real estate. One of the reasons being is, you guys know it's very tax efficient and tax effective in a way to invest in real estate. Mm. So we move our money from our solo 1K in our regular 401k to solo 401k. So we have self-control of the money. We move our taxable accounts investment into real estate. On the taxable accounts, we were generating about $40,000 a year from the distribution from all the syndication deals. And we were able to, for the past year, we were able to live off that. Had I draw down $40,000 from my index fund, for example, I would have to pay capital gain tax and different tax situation. But with the syndication deals, the K1 that we receive at the end of the year shows loss. That means the business losing money, we don't have to pay tax on it. So it's a big factor that now that the income is generating from real estate, that the tax will be kicked down to the road, so we don't have to pay the tax at the moment. So that play a big part of our decision making.
Wow. There's so many avenues I want to go to. I kind of want to go back and hear your story of like what the mindset was. I know you said it was kind of simple, just, automatically maxing out your retirement accounts and stuff, but I'm sure there was some frugality to it as well, or some kind of cognizance that, you have to live below your means. Just don't buy whatever you want, the fanciest cars, the nicest apartments, the best private schools for your kids, whatever that. So I want to dig in there, but I also want to dig into, the decision to, leave New York City where you knew and move to like a cheaper place like North Carolina. And I guess where would you like to start with your story of money and like the decisions you made that enabled this freedom in the future 14 years later?
Perhaps I can interject. Maybe start at the beginning, when you and your wife met and how you started to form this dream for your future life together. How did that look, and how did you carry it out?
Right. Even maybe before that, growing up in China, did that have an effect on like how you viewed money, and then like is that different than how most Americans traditionally view money?
Yeah. I think going back to China will probably be a better place.
Let's go all the way back.
Hold on.
So
do you want to phrase that question well so you can use it?
Yeah, you didn't like that progression there?
I think we just threw 10 questions at him.
Go for it. I think it's fine.
All right.
Okay, Lou, go from the beginning, from the womb.
I don't want to go that far. But a little bit of the background in China helps because I was raised in by the frugal parents. My parents, when we were in China, we were not broken, or we are not broke, but we didn't have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So frugal and living below our means is a natural thing, right? Mm-hmm. So when we got to America, we continued that kind of lifestyle. So when I started making money, when I was working, saving money, it's pretty natural to me. Mm-hmm. That, you just don't spend money you don't have.
Right.
So that comes with being raised by frugal parents. Mm-hmm. But then when I met my wife, when 2008, 2009 started, there was a lot of panicking, including our selves. So we were not sure when we're going to come back up, how long it's going to take. Mm. So the financial uncertainties push us to understand the market a little more, mm-hmm. try to take control of our financial future a little better. So after reading the book Automatic Millionaire, we simply just maxed out the 401k. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing we did.
And now 401k, for those that don't know, is like $19,000 a year you can each put in, right?
Yes. Yeah. At the time, it was like 16,000. It has increased over the years, but basically you put in the maximum amount the IRS allowed you to put in. So yeah, the financial habit is we don't buy a lot of stuff, right? We spend, I heard you guys talk about it on your show. When we buy stuff, we think about, is it something we need, mm-hmm. right? We don't buy things where we want, right? We want the fanciest car, the nicest phones, but as long as a car get me from point A to point B, a phone makes a phone call, I check my email, yep. It does the job, right? So those kind of small decisions actually add up over the years when we were together. It's just that we try not to go crazy with the stuff that we need, right? And we don't send our kids to private school. We don't send them to all these activities to fill their schedules. Those are the things that we keep our spending to a reasonable amount. Mm-hmm. Right? We are not not spending anything at all, but we didn't explode it. Our lifestyle didn't got so exploded to a way that we kind of trapped in the work. So
and both your wife and yourself were on the same page with this, or was one of you more spendy than the other?
My wife is actually more spendy than me. So
it's often the case.
I wasn't sure that she was 100% on board the way that I was trying to build our financial situation, but she did not object to it. Right? So she went along. We had talks, we have arguments, along the way, but she never really pushed back and say we should not do this. Mm. Right? Even though she wasn't 100% supportive, I felt like, but she was not totally against it. Mm-hmm. So that's a lesson learned, that anything that, even though I think I was making the right move for the family, I should have talked to her about it more and get her on board sooner and more receptive with the stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you worked as a computer engineer. What did she work as?
She was a CPA. She was an accountant, but she was a CPA.
Okay.
So both very good jobs. Yes. Lot of hours though required.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of work, which is hard when you're starting to think about family and kids and how you want to spend your time.
Exactly. So, it was long hours for the job and long commutes because we were living in New Jersey at the time, and we worked in New York City.
Nice.
So
fellow
long
New
hours.
Jerseyan.
So long hours, long commute. So it was pretty it was pretty busy.
And were you always working full time, or both parents, or once the kids came along, did she stay home or you stay home?
No, we've always worked full time, even with the kids right after they were born. We were lucky that we have a support system. So my parents help out a lot, her parents help out a lot.
Nice.
So, and then we sent them to daycare, and then they came on the weekend sometimes. So we had a full supported system in New York and New Jersey. So we were lucky.
That's so great. You know,
Yes,
we
yes.
definitely feel we're blessed in that way too, and it makes such a huge difference to be able to have family members to support you.
Yeah, yes. But we never really go for part-time or stop working because of the childbirth. But every time the maternity leave finishes, my wife always went back to work full-time.
And when did this goal start to like get created of, one day we want to retire early and we want to just quit our jobs and live off our assets we've accrued?
We never really had the goal. We've always been saving. We never really know what for. We just say, okay, having a little money extra give you the security, right? So we were saving. We didn't have a goal. It wasn't up until April last year, which is 2018.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
the story was like I said, I was listening to the Bigger Pockets show. And what they spin out to another show have the Money Show by Mindy Johnson and Scott Change.
Right.
One of the episode, they introduced the mad scientist. I had no idea what FIRE or financial independence was, but from that episode, I learned two things. One is that you can tap into your retirement accounts without paying penalty if you do it right with a Roth conversion. Second, it introduced me to the FIRE community and the concept. So, I was so excited to share with my wife, and I thought, this is the life that we want. We want to be home with the kids, we want to, walk them to the bus stop and all that. So that was the goal. And we were so excited about it. And I started planning out, and then we were like, we are on, we went straight from having 2 full-time jobs in New Jersey until like September, we both quit our jobs and moved to North Carolina.
Amazing.
That's crazy. So you get this inception of this idea in April, and then 5 months later, you guys both quit your full-time careers?
That's bold.
Full-time career. We uprooted the family of 5 and moved to a different state. It was crazy.
Who quit first?
My wife actually did. My wife quit, in August, right before the school started down in North Carolina.
So that sounds insane to me. You find out about this revolutionary idea, and that just completely shifts the trajectory of your life.
Right.
Yeah. Well, at the time, as I said earlier, we already have the asset.
Right,
we already have money into real estate. So we have the foundation that help us to make that crazy move.
Right.
And the decision thinking was that, I'm sure you guys heard about the 4% rule, where you withdraw 4% of your assets, and then most likely you will not run out of money.
Right. So like if you have $1 million and you withdraw 4%, that's $40,000 a year you can safely withdraw, and hopefully the account grows at 8%. So it grows at 80,000 and you take 40,000 out.
Yes. Yeah. So at the time we were so excited about the idea of totally retired. So we do the reverse thinking. So we look at our assets and how much money it generates. And I said, all right, so we need to live for $40,000 a year. And you guys know, living in New Jersey and New York, it's high cost living.
Yes.
Right.
So we figured that wasn't going to be the option.
Right.
So the option will be to continue working a little more, having more assets saved up and invested, or we relocate. So we find a place that we can live comfortably with, let's say, $40,000 a year. So relocation was the most effective way to achieve that. That's why we moved.
Wow.
Very good thought.
It's so interesting.
Really.
Was that hard though? Because I know you said, you had like family roots here in New York, New Jersey area. Did they move
Yes.
with you, or was that just hard to say no, say goodbye to? And
It was hard. It was hard. We didn't know anyone down here. We didn't know anyone down in North Carolina. None of the family members moved. I don't think anyone was supporting the idea.
you guys are 38 years old. Why are you quitting your full-time careers?
That's a whole different episode.
Okay, can we just go back a little bit to like you're listening to this episode with Mad Fientist and you go home and you speak to your wife. What is her like initial reaction to that idea?
Her initial idea was, is it even real? Is this such thing? And then I said, well, this guy, who had read all these IRS documents and they seem to understand it, and he has a charts, what to do with it, how to do it. I said, seems legit. And this whole FIRE movement, it's not complicated, right?
No, it's not.
It comes down to that you have the freedom to do whatever you want. And that decision quickly turned into reality one day that I asked her to write what her perfect day was, like in exclusive, like very, very detailed, from the moment you snooze the alarm and what you do, and how you go to sleep, just very, very detailed. And I did the same thing. So that exercise helped us to visualize what's really important to us, which is spending time with the kids, because we compare notes after we are done. And the kids play a big part of our day. Money wasn't that very important. Wasn't like going crazy on exotic vacation or anything. But that exercise helped us realize what's the most important thing to us. And once we figure that out, once we have the strong why, all this crazy thing, like you said, jumping from April to September, all this thing going on, we just have the drive to get it done. Once we figure that out.
You see the vision now very
Yeah.
concretely in front of you. What a great idea to do that vision planning and let your mind just stray for a little bit and really paint out your dream without worrying about, this obligation and this obligation.
Yes.
Just really think about what would the most ideal scenario be for me and my family, and that really can help you gain clarity. I think that was a brilliant thing to do on your part, and would help a lot of people too. We try to do yearly painting a snapshot of what we hope our next 5 years will look like, and I think that helps keep us on a track, rather than getting caught up in wherever you find yourself.
Yeah,
so I love that idea.
It helped a lot. I don't think we would be able to have the gut to do all that without that perfect day vision that we have painted ourselves.
So I'm a little curious, so you say $40,000 a year is kind of what you're living off of right now? Could you?
That's right.
When you guys were kind of making the top salaries, you and your wife, how much were you bringing home?
At the time that we quit our jobs about a year ago, our combined salary was $260,000.
Wow! So you're going from $260,000 a year to $40,000. Was that like so painful? I mean, I'm sure that exercise you did definitely kind of brought that home. But to say goodbye to $260,000 a year, $250,000 a year, that sounds really painful.
We never felt that pain.
Okay.
Our life was fairly simple to begin with. And a lot of money, when you talk about it, think about it, $250,000, that seems to be a lot of money. But then that's before tax.
Right.
And so you take the tax out, you spend, because I remember our mortgage with property tax in New Jersey was $4,400 a month.
Wow. Okay.
And then we have 2 cars, right? We have New Jersey Turnpike to pay tolls and Garden State Parkway.
Yeah. Going into New York, commuting the tolls across the bridge.
$15 each way, right? Is it more now?
And then if we take the train, and so when it boils down to, we didn't have a lot of money to spend on our day to day, right? We eat out a little bit and we travel a little bit, but it wasn't that big of a change in terms of our lifestyle. It's just that when we came here, we bought a smaller house. We downsized everything, from a big house to a small house, from a king size bed to a full size bed. So we didn't feel like we gave up a lot. Our life was, simple and easy, and the trade-off that we get to spend time with the kids. So everything else that we kind of, quote unquote, gave up, it was worth it.
It really speaks to, well, how much money do you really need to
Exactly.
actually be happy with your life?
Exactly.
And it isn't necessarily chasing the biggest paycheck. And I think a lot of times when you're in the rat race and you're working and in the profession, they're urging you to climb the ladder, you get caught up in this vision of, oh, well, I gotta get there.
Yeah, once I'm there, I'll be happy and I'll be fulfilled.
But as you said, depending on your particular lifestyle choices and the way you live your life, you may not need to be aspiring to all of that. You may have been making $260,000 a year, but only really needing $40,000 a year to live the life that you wanted, or perhaps slightly more because you were in the Northeast. But
yes,
that's a powerful realization that I think a lot of people should reflect on. Am I working for this paycheck because I need to, or am I working for it because I find myself in this hamster wheel of thinking I need it, but I actually don't? So that's really a good point you bring up.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of go into the $40,000 a year expense number that you guys have as a family of 5. Did you guys buy a house outright, or are you still paying into a mortgage? Where does that $40,000 a year go towards? And how do you guys do health insurance not having a job?
Yeah. $40,000 a year, that's our budget, and that includes a mortgage. So before we left North New Jersey, we had the option, right? We can buy the house outright with cash, but because we have the syndication deals that we were investing in, we didn't want to spend the cash buying a house and lock the equity into the house. So we decided
more money as an investment.
Yes. Yeah. So we bought a house with as low down payment as we could. We used the rest of money to invest in syndication deals that pay us more than the interest rate that we're taking out from the mortgage. So we do have a mortgage. That's a 30-year fixed mortgage. The monthly payments, it's about $1,500 with property tax.
Wow, with property tax, nice.
Yeah.
How much is property tax alone? Do you know?
I think 2,000 or 2,100.
Yeah.
And how big is the house?
It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, about 1,800, 1,900 square feet townhome.
Wow. North
Compared
Carolina's
to New
nice.
Jersey, 10,000, 12,000.
I know. The house we were in New Jersey that we had was about $10,000 in property tax.
Which isn't bad.
It's actually not.
you understand. As far as the health insurance is that we are on the Affordable Care Act thing, the health care marketplace. Because our income is considered low with a family of 5, so we get tax credits to pay for the premium. This year we are paying about $30 a month for now.
What?
For 5 of us.
$30 a month, 5. That's 10% of what I pay.
But
as a federal employee. Go ahead.
But as we continue to the end of the year, where we actually know more about what we actually make, right? So that could go up and down. We have to pay back the credits. We might have to pay back more. We don't know yet. That will be for up to the CPA to do. But right now,
CPA your wife?
No. She wants nothing to do with this finance thing.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't fit into the perfect day vision.
No, that's right. Sitting in the computer doing accounting work is not. It's not on her list.
Okay, so we talked about an $18,000 housing expense you have from your $1,500, a month mortgage and taxes. So that's pretty much half your budget is going towards housing.
That's right.
So you kind of have $22,000 to play with. Sounds like healthcare is actually a really small bite of that.
For now, yes.
What else is going into that? I guess you got to pay for food and everything like that. Your cars are paid for, I assume, or?
Yes, we don't have car payments. that's the only debt that we have is the mortgage.
The mortgage, okay.
So to keep the utilities, and now the cars, because we don't work, so the gas is pretty insignificant in a way. And the toll here is not as much as north like New York and New Jersey. So transportation is fairly low. Food, yeah, we spend money on food. There's not a big expensive item on our list other than the mortgage. You have car insurance. That's about it.
So, you're living off, like I said, like about $22,000 remaining. That's like $1,800 a month. And that's for like gas, groceries, fun, food, eating out. Do you feel like you're living a deprived life at all? Or how do you feel like you're living?
No, I don't think we feel like we live in a deprived life at all. We feel like we live, in a very fulfilled life. That the material possession was never important to us. So we don't crave for the fancy clothes and the latest gadgets. No, I mean, we get to do whatever we want every day. And a lot of stuff that we do doesn't require a lot of money. So we don't feel deprived. We eat what we want to eat. When it was on sale, we eat them, so it's, whatever's not on sale, we wait some other time. We went on vacation. We use, credit card hacking for travels. So no, I mean, when the kids are out of school, we take them out on vacation. As a matter of fact, the summer we spent 6-7 weeks in New York City, staying with friends and families and, just hanging out.
So awesome.
I think we have a lot more life experience for us and for the kids.
Yes.
Now that we don't work. So
right.
I don't feel like we are deprived at all.
Are you guys bored at all? Like not having a career? How has that been for you? Like, you're almost a year out of work and you guys. Yeah. How has that been?
It's boring. Bored is definitely part of it because it's a big shift from working full time to not working at all. Like I said, it took me a while to understand, to appreciate the life of not working.
Right.
So it gets busy. I often joke with my wife that we quit our jobs, 9-to-5 job, but we didn't seem like we had 8 hours free every day.
Yeah.
Because now that we sleep in a little late, we get to go to the gym more. We take naps. We are home enjoying lunch. So the day goes by pretty quick. Spending time with my 2-year-old,
right.
It's a lot of fun. So we still have the urge of do something. There's got to be something we want to do, but we don't feel like we need to do it right now. We can take our time. We can really try to focus on what is the thing that we want to do.
Right.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I really love the contentment that you found in the position that you're in, because I know a common thing, whether you retire early or whether you retire when you're 65, one of the hardest transitions is just figuring out how to find happiness in all this spare time that you now have, and if you don't have a plan of what to do with it, you can get depressed or, things can get you down. But you have this understanding,
vision of spending it with your family,
right?
And
the
your
appreciation
young
of this is a time I can spend with my young child, my family. Right now, it's not going to be here forever, and right now, this is all we want and need. And when we hit that place where she goes to school and we want to find another passion project to pursue, then we'll get there too. You're not giving into like a restless feeling. You're really finding that contentment.
Yes. It took time. It took time both for me and my wife to appreciate that, like you said, to get to the contentment. But it wasn't easy. It took time to detox from working 9-to-5 for so many years. But now again, we are focusing on spending time with the family, and that's keeping us focused. Right? And we appreciate them. We appreciate the opportunity we have that we can spend time with them. We don't take it for granted. That's why every day we try to make the best out of it. That gives us the fulfillment. That gives us this excitement to get up in the morning. So it's not like, I don't know what we're going to do today. But when you get up and then you say, all right, what are we going to do today? Where are we going to go today?
Yeah.
So that, in a way that is really fulfilling every day.
How have you seen your relationship with your family, like your children, change from them having, constantly working parents and having to be juggled back and forth between daycare and
sure
now
stress level is completely different too.
Now they
Yes.
know you are their full priority and you're there. How have you seen any changes in the family dynamic?
I definitely see a big change when with the older one, at least. My oldest one is 9 years old. And let me tell you a little funny story. When we were in New Jersey, we were both working full time. And so, in the winter time, we didn't see our house in daylight. We left in the morning when it's really dark, and by the time we got home, it was already dark. On the weekend, we do household stuff, so we didn't really have a lot of time spending with the kids. So anyway, after we moved to North Carolina, maybe a few weeks, maybe even 2 months in, we were at the dinner table, and my oldest one, he was 8 years old at the time. So he asked, so why are you guys home all the time now? So it's a big change for him, where he sees us every day, every time when he gets off the bus. So it's a big change. It looks like they are happy to see us every day. They talk to us a little more. We were able to spend more time with them. We were able to focus on what they need emotionally and academically. We were able to spend outdoor time with them more, to see them grow more. And if there's a problem arise, we can adjust quickly, and we are there right away. So that kind of dynamics that we never had the opportunity when we were both working. And right now we don't work, so we get to see the problem right away, can address it right away. We talk a little more. We go on trips together. So it has been really working out for everyone.
That bonding experience between you guys and your kids is, I'm sure, something that's going to impact them for a lifetime and really, really develop strong family ties. And I think that that's fantastic.
Yeah. I hope they will be benefiting from this years down the road.
Plus, they're going to learn the creativity of not thinking you've got to go find a 9-to-5 when you get out of school. There's
or retire when you're 65.
There's alternative life choices if you plan your life out in such a way. So that's a huge lesson. Right.
Yes. They get to see us working a lot. Now they get to see us not working at all. So just from, like you said, you see options. My parents work the day they retire and then more, right? So I didn't know there was other way, because my parents work every day. I didn't know. But now that they see me and my wife working hard and not working at all, so they know there are options out there.
Right.
So you kind of said like your family didn't take it like super well that you guys were leaving. How is it now, like a year later? Did they like expect you to go back to work already, or like how do they communicate with you guys? Like, are they like amazed at you guys, or how is that dynamic?
Right now, they don't question as much, because when we quit our jobs, when we moved, both our parents were asking constantly every time we get them on the phone, are you looking for jobs? Are you going back to work? Now that my parents have come here several times to visit, we've gone back to New York several times. They understand what we are doing now. I don't know if they appreciate it. I don't know if they support it, but they definitely stop asking, are you going back to work? So so I think they started to realize that this is the life that we want and this is the life that we enjoy. Whether they approve or support, I think they are happy to see that we are happy.
And when you go to a party, like, I feel like I even asked you this when I met you at FinCon. I was like, hey, so what do you do for a living? What do you say to that?
It's the term that defines a person's
it's
identity.
Like, who are you? Yeah.
I think my wife is doing a lot better than me for this thing. For the longest time, I wasn't comfortable to tell them that I was retired. right? Because like you said, most people, when you hear people retire in the early 30s or late 30s, they would think, oh, you hit the lottery, you're a trust fund baby,
Right.
you have some kind of inheritance. It was none of that, right? For people like you and me who understand personal finance, who have different, who have lived this long time, you understand. But for the general population, it was not an easy thing for them to understand. So I always tell them I work from home. And when they ask what I do, I said, I'm a computer programmer. I work from home. What I didn't tell them is that I'm not actively looking for clients. But that tends to ease the conversation a little bit, right? And on the other hand, my wife is like full blown, say, what do you do? And she said, I'm retired. And also there's this different perspective for men and women, right? So a lot of people don't even ask my wife what she does when we are out in the playground. But a lot of parents would ask me, what do I do? And I always tell them I work from home. It wasn't up until right before FinCon, I felt comfortable to tell people that I'm retired.
Right.
If they start asking questions about, what happened, how, and then I start telling them I invest in real estate. So that gets me the conversation going if anyone is interested.
Right.
But for a while, I wasn't comfortable at all to tell people that I am retired because I didn't know what to say after that.
Right.
And you don't want to have to explain your whole story to every single person you meet. It gets very tiring quickly, I'm sure.
Because it's so outside the norm. But, what do you, because you guys had a pretty relatively high salary rate, but is this something you feel like anyone can really achieve?
The quick answer is yes. Anyone can achieve it if they want it. However, after living a year fully retirement, I feel like it's not for everyone. Right? Some people tell me outright they don't want to spend too much time with their kids, whatever the reason is. Right? So that was my reason to retire. If that wasn't yours, maybe you shouldn't retire. Maybe you should find another job that you enjoy if you don't enjoy this one right now. Right? But if this is something that you see yourself liking and doing, yes, you can achieve that. If you set your mindset right, put your money investing in the right place, having a good plan. If you can relocate like we did, that's even easier for a lot of people. But if you can, for a number of reasons, which I can understand, then you need to have a plan, right? You do have whatever the 10-year, 5-year, 20-year plan. As long as you have a plan, you have items that you can do to get you there, then everyone can do it. But it's definitely not for everyone.
Right.
You bring up a very good point there. Can everyone do it? Perhaps, but it depends on your priority, and maybe it's not best for everyone either, depending on your personality.
And how's your wife taking it? Does she ever miss her job?
No.
That's great.
That was because being a CPA or being being an accountant was it's long hours. It took a lot of toll on her as well, and she gave birth to 3 children, so she was working really hard for the family and for the work. So this is a well-deserved break for her, and she doesn't miss it at all.
That's awesome.
That's really great.
So we're kind of getting kind of long in the show now. So just some last ending questions here. When you meet a young couple, what is some of the best advice you would give to a young couple just starting out in their lives together?
Get your spouse or get your partner on board. Whatever your financial goal is, get them on board. Sometimes I was doing it myself. I thought I was doing the right thing for the family. Listen to me, I'm doing it right. Later on, I found out it's a lot easier to have a partner supporting you than just blindly going with you. Right? My wife, she wasn't 100% on board, but she was not against it. But there were times that we did go into arguments about, should we max out 401k? Can we have some fun money to travel? Looking back, it was a good decision, but I wasn't doing it the right way. But for a new family, a young family starting out, as far as the finance is concerned, talk to your partner, get them on board. Even though you think you're making the right move, get them on board.
Okay, and you definitely recommend, like you mentioned earlier, I guess, like maxing out those retirement accounts and those.
Yeah, that's what that worked for us, and that gave us to where we are now.
That's awesome. So Lou, what are some of your hobbies? Have you developed new ones? Have you reinvested into some of your old ones? What do you like to do? And I don't know, maybe give us a glimpse. You've kind of already like what your daily activities look like, but maybe talk about your hobbies a little bit.
Sure. I like spending time with the kids a lot. Like, today I went out with my youngest one. We had lunch at the local restaurant. We sat outside and just me and her and just floating around us. It just nothing else brings much joy than spending time with the kids. So that's number one hobby, if it's a hobby. I was a computer programmer, so I was in the technology field for a while. So reading technologies and trying out playing with new gadgets, that was definitely one of my hobbies. Traveling is another one. We spent 6 weeks in New York, doing touristy stuff. When we were in New York, we weren't able to do it. So now that we moved away, we were able to spend time like a tourist in New York. So traveling is definitely, traveling is definitely one of them. Now that we have a little more time, I'm starting a piano lesson. I know nothing about music, but I'm enjoying learning new stuff now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you said you and your wife go to the gym together now too?
Yeah. She goes to a different class. I go to different class. We drop off the little one for the daycare for an hour or two. We both go to different classes. Yeah, we're both working out. It's been great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, when people hear your story and it's so different, what do you really hope that they kind of get inspired to do or think about?
I would really love people to take action, after they hear my story. I'm not smarter than a lot of people. I'm just average person happen to know some of the stuff that will benefit me. But one thing I see me different than my friends and peers is that I take action, right? So when I found out about this FI concept in April and moved the whole family to North Carolina in September, it's taking actions. Sometimes you got to be a little bit crazy to do all these things, but knowing a lot of stuff and without taking action is not going to take you very far. So, my story can be replicable. It might not be for everyone, but one thing I do want people to take away from is that take action. Whatever you want to do, take action. Don't wait.
That's awesome.
That's great advice. It's so true. I think that's the number one hold up for most people is they're too afraid to pull the trigger. They're too afraid to take the leap. And honestly, you don't get anywhere unless you do.
Right.
Yes.
And I've learned that from Sonny, because I'm definitely more of the let me just mull over this and never do anything. And he's the one who's like, this is what we're doing, and we're doing it now.
Yeah. And there's a lot of fear goes along with it, right? So when I take action, I don't think that I know everything about anything that I'm doing, but I think I know enough, that I'm educated enough, that people have done it. I know enough about it. I'm doing it. So
the next step you need to take, and then you'll figure out that next step after you take that first one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So awesome, Lou. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I know people might want to reach out to you. Your story is really incredible. Do you have a way for people to get in touch with you?
They can send me email. I don't have a blog. I'm not very active on social media. So they can always send me an email. My email is mrluchen@gmail.com. So it's mr.luechen@gmail.com. Right? I'm willing to answer any question if anyone wants to say hi or just have any questions at all.
Awesome, Lou. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'd love to catch up with you again a few years from now to see how your journey is going and what exciting things you get into. So thanks
Sounds
again
good.
for joining us.
Yeah.
All right.
wish
Thank you.
all the
Thanks so
best.
much for having me. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.